And we're live. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Zach.
Hello, hello, and I'm Mitchell.
What are we going to be going over today, Mitchell?
We're gonna be talking about Anki, our favorite topic. 5 tips on making amazing flashcards on Anki. Let's get to it, Zach.
Let's get to it.
Um,
So, for the first point, it's mostly just using a question and answer format, plus or minus evidence, using evidence with it. So, the bad example of on the screen is exclusively breastfed infants require blank supplementation. The blank is obviously vitamin D. You don't see these kind of questions on tests. Do you ever see them on your test, Mitchell?
no, actually, no.
So, when you're using this format, the main problem with it is you're memorizing a pattern. And if that vitamin D was thrown in somewhere else in the question or worded differently, your brain might actually not pick up on it. I've had that happen in my exams where I learned something in one format and didn't put it in question and answer format, and I didn't know in an exam because of that. So
Huh.
that's one thing you have to watch out for when you're using pre-made decks for the MCAT or step one, step two, because most people
Or
use the
or
fill in
the
blank ones.
PCAT.
I'm not sure if Miles Down does question answer or not. It's been a while.
They don't actually. It's just like
This fill in blank.
filling, yeah, fill in the blank or like kind of understand this topic. Um, I liked it. I like it. It's not like you have to answer a specific question.
The only problem with that is like the test's never going to ask you that exact thing. They might ask you, what should you give a breastfed infant or something like that? Big vitamin D
Yeah,
supplementation.
yeah.
You see on screen, my other question is, when do you use hydralazine or isorbide in heart failure patients? That's a question that has come up on exams for me, and it's in all African American patients with in New York Heart Association class 3 or 4 heart failure. It has a direct mortality benefit. So that's telling you when you use it plus why you use it, which you kind of need to know too, is like, oh, it has a direct mortality benefit for African Americans. So, so step point number two is don't use the Anki for memorized list. I'm not sure if Miles Down has lists to memorize, do they?
They do have a few things that you can like memorize, but like, so he puts up a picture of a list for example, like Erickson's um theories, and then so it gives you like a bunch of lists, but it he separates it into individual slides, and he does like, for example, like 0 to 1 is like trust and mistrust, or trust versus mistrust, and so he mentions that. But then whenever you click it, the list also pops up. So it's not like you're seeing the list every single time you're focusing on a new word on the list, or a new face, or a new question, or a new something on the list, which is I think is really beneficial, because I kind of want to go back and look at the list. Um, but he doesn't do that all the time. He does it only a few times.
Yeah. I know in my classes, so I have a flashcard I made earlier today. It says, what are the drugs used for MRSA treatment? There's literally 7 of them. And I had a flashcard on Anki that literally had Bactrim, Clinda, Doxy, Dapto, linezolid, minocycline, and Vancol in it. And seeing
Okay,
that,
okay, yeah,
and seeing that flashcard, I have to
yeah,
I have to list 7 things or I get it wrong. So if I get 6 out of 7, well, I missed the flashcard now, so it's kind of useless.
yeah.
And if you do,
Okay.
if you do
Talking about
close,
that,
what?
he does have some sort of a list for emotions, and yeah, for other things. So yeah, he does have it, but he backs it up with pictures, though. He backs it up with slides.
Yeah, so that goes back to the question, answer, and evidence, which means you should be putting a picture with your flashcards, which I'm really bad at not doing it, but it does help if you do put a picture with it.
You don't do it often enough.
I've been trying to, so I'll screenshot the textbook I'm using and put it in like the so the On King has his own format he uses where it has like it puts links, and then
Mhm.
you put your thing in there. If you push the link on the flashcard, it pops up what you your extra information.
Yeah, yeah, and miles down for the Anki deck that I'm doing, there is literally a link every flashcard there is. It's either a link for YouTube or Khan Academy. It's always YouTube or Khan Academy. It's very rare that he links to another website, so it's just mostly YouTube, some guy teaching it, or or like it directs you to the YouTube Khan Academy website.
And just
Um,
good so if you don't know information, you know where to look for to learn it better.
yeah, which is really good because sometimes I'm like stuck in a slide and I'm trying to I'm like, why I cannot get this information? Why I cannot, encode this into my brain? And so I have to like click on the link and I have to review the videos and I'm like, all right, so I'm seeing it from a different angle now. This is fresh. I can get it. Boom.
It helps a lot.
Yeah, it really does.
So for the
So
third point, we're gonna do asking specific questions. So these are examples I had actual in flashcards. So what do you do to treat hypertension? You see how that's very broad, Mitchell? You could
that
say
is,
anything.
yeah, that's like 50 things.
I could say have a better diet, lose weight, exercise. That's treat
Yeah.
hypertension. That's just not what the test probably people will probably want. So
You're going too broad. Yeah.
what is first line treat hypertension? Well, what ethnicity are you looking at? Are you looking at African Americans? Are you looking at white people? Are you looking at Asians? Big
Hmm.
difference. I talked to you recently, Mitchell, about how African Americans, if you use the first line agents, there's a 40% chance of them not working in them.
Oh yeah,
So, like, if I was just saying, what's the first line, treat it, well, you can't really answer that because it's not gonna. The first line is not gonna work in African Americans 40% of the time.
that's right.
So then the best way to do this is like, what's the first line treat hypertension in African Americans, which is diuretics or a calcium channel blocker.
You have to be very, very specific.
Which I made that a mistake on a lot of my cards. Now looking back at them from
Was that
being at pharmacy
was
school, it was bad.
was those mistakes made for your test for the MCAT or for pharmacy school?
I mostly just use pre-made decks for the MCAT, but the mistakes were made like I've been using Anki since end of first year pharmacy school. So like my flashcards I made back then compared to now, it's like whoa, bro.
I wish I knew about Anki during college. Earlier in my college career, I would have aced every single class.
You know, you know now though, so
Yeah, yeah, I definitely do.
you have all med school to go through, so.
Especially.
So you just want to make sure your questions are specific. So if you're talking about hypertension, be as specific as possible. Get down to the ethnicities. Ethnicities matter. So, and number four is learn before you make flashcards. So you want to do at least one pass of the material.
So
So
when you mean like one pass, like read the book first.
read the book, watch videos on it, do something. Like don't just here's a random flashcard on calcium channel blockers treating hypertension. That means nothing to you if you're looking at that.
That's Yeah, I've actually made that mistake. I started another deck. I started a biochemistry deck when I've never taken biochemistry class. So I was like, what am I looking at?
Yeah,
What is
it's not good.
yeah, no, yeah, it was very complicated. So I had to like, you know what? I'm just gonna open the book first and I'm gonna read a few pages and then I'm gonna try to go at it, or at least halfway into the book.
The other issue with this is that you make too many cards when you don't understand the material too. So for some lectures in
Okay.
pharmacy school, I'd have 500 flashcards for one lecture.
500 for one lecture. You
And
were
you,
just pretty much trying to memorize the entire lecture.
yeah, basic, because I didn't know it was important because I didn't look at the material yet. So I'm like, oh, is that nerve important? Oh, is that a head thing important? Like, is that important where that thing's located on the head? Like, the directions and stuff? Proximal,
Right.
distal. I'm like, is that
Right.
important? Like, do I need to know that?
So, so, so it's kind of like highlighting everything in the book. Like
Yeah,
you don't want to highlight everything. Okay.
that's basically the problem. And then you got like 500 flashcards per lecture. Now you're like, oh boy, I gotta do 4,000 flashcards from this week. Great.
It's gonna be smoke coming out of your brain.
20,000 for one exam. Great.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So make sure you go through it first. So like you don't know, you don't memorize stupid fat stuff like how much does diabetes affect healthcare costs, like stuff like that. It's important, but it's not probably not important for your class. So
Makes sense. Makes sense.
and the last thing is redundancy. So look at it from different angles. I don't know how many times you had tests where you study something one way and the test tests you the opposite way and you didn't know it. Did you have that happen to you?
Oh, wow. So many times, especially in nursing school. My goodness gracious. Because during that time, like, you have to answer the most, you have to pick the most correct answer because all of them are correct.
Mm.
So, like, all five answers are correct. You just have to pick the most correct. So, redundancy, yeah, you have to know. It's like the multiplication table. You have to know it inside out, up and down, side to side. You just have to know everything about that question and that answer to be able to apply it into a different perspective, from a different perspective.
What mistake I see in pharmacy school is brand generics. So most people learn the brand name and the generic that way. Most people don't learn the generic to brand name. And so our tests, half of the test is literally generic to brand on purpose because they know students fail because of that.
Wow. So you say, have you made that mistake, or were you ready for that?
I was already ready for it because I knew pretty much, I read them all out all the time. But yeah,
Okay.
I had
So
friends who
that's
failed the exam because they didn't know it backwards.
really,
Hmm.
my goodness.
They made that mistake every year pharmacy school through the last year. We take the same take an exam it adds on to every year. So first
Hmm.
year's just brand generic. Next year's brand generic dosage forms and brand generic dosage forms plus side effects.
Hmm.
And so like they didn't know the drug name backwards. So if they said uh, amlodipine, Norvasc, they didn't know that. So they're asking about the side effects of amlodipine. They don't know what amlodipine is. Or
Oh,
Norvasc. What's the side effects of Norvasc? They don't know because they don't know what that is. The other name.
okay.
So it really hurt their grades. I think that's it for us though. Do you have anything else you want to add?
No. I think I'm gonna use that. Ask specific questions on the new flashcards that I'm gonna make.
You said
But
another
yeah,
good bit to make.
yeah. I'm making a few. I'm making a few flashcards, especially for the equations that are like really hard on me.
Like physics.
Yes. Well, biochemistry is
Oh,
just another language for me, pretty much.
I didn't know there's equations in biochemistry. It's been so long.
Or well, organic chemistry, and biochemistry is just another world.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're gonna do another. We have to do another video on Anki though, because we still have to touch so many topics on Anki. So
There's so many extra tips. Like this is only five. I think I have so many more to
so
bring.
stay
So
tuned. Yeah, let's do another round. Let's do a part two.
probably part two, part three. We have add-ons to cover. So many good add-ons people made for Anki.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So see you guys in the next video. Like, comment, subscribe. You know the good stuff.
Okay.
Bye.
All right. Good night.